I feel like I'm getting better at filming videos again because I filmed 2 this week and it doesn't feel as awkward this time. So we're taking that as a good sign. We're struggling already, guys. It's doing something. I don't know if it's doing what I need it to do. Today I've decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. A friend of mine is having a party in a couple weeks that's euphoria themed, and this is the look that I'm going for. I'm obsessed with Maddie, so I want to emulate her New Year's outfit because as soon as I saw it, I was like, that was sick. Just because it is on a work day, I don't know if I'm taking the day off yet. I want to make sure that I know how to do the makeup, so it's just like getting it done, getting everything ready and leaving. But then I was like, let's make it bookish and fun. So I'm going to be doing my makeup. We're gonna go through this together and see if I can actually get it done. I'm kind of scared because I'm horrible at eyeliner, so we're gonna see. I am not gonna do it until perfection. We're literally just gonna see first round how it goes, but I'm gonna do my makeup. I'm also gonna recommend books based on the characters and their characteristics and how I feel about them, what books come to mind when I think of these characters. So before we get into it, some warnings. 1, you might hear my neighbors upstairs because the walls are thin, or you might hear my neighbors that are behind these shelves because he's learning how to play guitar and he does it often and we can hear him every time he does it. So I'm not putting any music in the background, but if you hear music, it's him. Anyway, before I get started with the makeup, let's put on the hair and really complete the transformation. I was not a euphoria girly before the past week and a half, I would say. It's been a very recent change in my life. One of my roommates was a euphoria girly and a lot of my friends were euphoria girlies, but I really got into it because literally every other TikTok was either a euphoria sound or like about that week's euphoria episode, and I just was completely confused. And then the final straw was my friend saying that she was gonna have a party, and I was like, you know what, let me just watch this, let me see what everyone's talking about. And it's really stressful. Rue's plotline is really triggering at some points. It is not fun to watch, but I think it was worth it. It was a good show. It was a good show. And we caught up literally for the week of episode 5 of season 2, which was great. Let me see if I can use this fucking viewfinder to put on. I did not do my bun properly this time around because I was lazy. Oh no. I think my bun might be too big for it this time. We're struggling already, guys. Do I look like the Grinch girl right now? We're just really gonna sit up, or I'm gonna crop here so that if you can see it, you just can't. My roots are a little browner than this is, but I think it'll work fine. But I am getting into like more hair stuff that covers my hair color because it's a commitment when you choose a color, and sometimes you just want to switch it up. If you have any recommendations, specifically ponytails, I feel like this kind of stuff is stuff I can put on. I swear it looks fine. I did put it on during work hours when I first got it, and my hair was like recently washed, so it was easier to get into bun than it is now. Look, it's decent. It's whatever. We're gonna get started. My face is all moisturized, as you can tell from the shininess. I do think though I'm gonna add some Glossier Future Dew because I want like a really shiny, like youthful skin look. So we're gonna start with that while I talk about the first character, who is Kat. I think she's relatable to all us Tumblr girlies, to everyone who grew up with fan fiction. I was writing fanfic as a teenager. I was reading smutty fanfic as a teenager, mostly Harry Potter stuff. I was never really a fanfic on Tumblr girl because I was older. By that point I was in uni when Tumblr was really big. I do remember my fanfiction.net days and just the dissociation that she has. So an obvious book that I immediately thought of, which is when we're reading for House Hot Book Club for the month of February, is Ice Planet Barbarian. I have not read it yet. I'm about to read it next week, get ahead of the book club, but I feel like she would probably be one of the TikTok girlies reading that book. Another book that Kat reminded me of was Modern Horror. That book isn't out yet. It's being published by one of the imprints at the publishing house I work for, but it's a look at sex work, and it shows both like the positives and the negative scary parts of the work, and I just like Kat probably should read this book just because she is dabbling herself in sex work. So I feel like sis needs to read from some women who have way more experience than she does, just so that she is fully going into it with all the knowledge. I'm gonna do my brows first. I feel like start with something you know. And speaking of things we know, let's talk about Maddie next, since I'm literally doing a look based on her. The character of Maddie and like the plot line between Maddie and Cassie in season 2 is literally what made me like what finally convinced me to watch the show, because I had tried watching season 1 back when it first came out, because like it was really popular back then even, and I could not get through episode 2, I want to say was the episode I stopped at, just because it was so dark and it just, there was nothing fun about it. And the second season with Cassie and Maddie and that entire situation with Nate, I think was enough of like the campiness that I usually like in my TV, that I was like, I'm gonna watch it for the ridiculousness of this plot. I love my girl Maddie. She's a problem in and of herself. I just stopped talking because I was trying to shave my fucking eyebrow. She's a little toxic. Like in season 1 when she puts the guy in prison for Nate, that was a little extra. I say a little extra, not that she committed a whole crime. She falls for red flag men, and I think it's because that's the love she thinks she deserves, because she knows she's kind of horrible sometimes, especially when she's lashing out at her friends when she's having a bad time. I do think she is very self-centered. Like she never considers the fact that the people around her are also going through things. So for Maddie, with all of these things in mind, that she's toxic but entertaining, I think Happy Hour or Sweetbitter are really good comps for Maddie as a character. Happy Hour follows these two girls who go to New York in the early 2000s. They don't have any money to their name, and they don't know what they're doing with their lives, and I feel like that's where Maddie is. She does not want to work, which was the most relatable thing that a character said when they were like, I just don't want to work, I want to be a housewife. And I was like, yeah, same, after working, yeah. And for Sweetbitter, it's all about a toxic relationship at the center, and there is a little bit of a love triangle, so it was literally an easy choice for Maddie. And there's a lot of drug abuse in Sweetbitter because it is about the restaurant industry. So I think those are very good comps, and we're gonna swiftly move on. I don't know how to do my eyes because they're kind of hooded, because my mom's eyes got more hooded as she aged. I can see mine slowly doing that, like the skin above my eye is like slowly coming down, so I have like a certain amount of space I can work with, and the skin around my eyes is just darker than the rest of the skin on my face because it's thin and I abuse it, and it's just always been this way. So we're gonna do a little bit of, I think, bronzer in the crease and then silver. Pausing the book recommendations to do this. So I'm gonna start with my Hoola Classic bronzer. This one kind of shows up on my skin and then sometimes chooses not to. It really depends on how much sleep I've gotten. There's no rhyme or reason to how I do things, honestly. I just hope it turns out kind of like how Rue approaches her life. There's no rhyme or reason to why she does what she does. Look at that transition. I'm so proud of myself. Rue, that plot line, God bless Andrea, she can fucking act her ass off. Like episode 5, it was the most stressful episode of television, and it kind of fucked me up for a couple days after. Like I was not myself. I was kind of in a funk. Like the suicide ideation and stuff like that is not, it's not the best. It's not good for my brain. So that was partially the reason why I just never got around to watching the show, because I was like, I need to be in a mental headspace where I can handle watching that kind of content. I think maybe a little bit darker in the corners. I can't see what I'm doing, so fingers crossed it doesn't look whack. Whenever she does something with Fez, like whenever she treats him like shit, it's like so sad, because you know it is literally her addiction that's making her act that way, and it's like fucking up this relationship that she clearly has with him. For Rue, I haven't read this book either, but the synopsis I've read it a lot of times for work is My Year of Rest and Relaxation, which is about a woman who literally just spends a year doing drugs and stuff. She's rich, so she can afford to buy drugs and just lounge around for a year, but I feel like that was Rue's ultimate plan for that suitcase. She was going to spend a month doing drugs and then just eat. I think that like sort of aligns with her character. And another book I thought of when I thought of Rue was More Happy Than Not. It's been years since I've read that book. It's about a kid who is struggling because his dad commits suicide, and he also is having mental issues, and that's the other side of Rue's character plot, is like the drugs, but also her father's death and the way that has affected her mentally, which has affected her drug use. And on that light note, we're gonna start to do the silver on my lids. I think the cut crease, the dark transition shade looks very subtle, barely there, and that's fine. I am also, again, blind and I cannot see what I'm doing. So I have a bunch of glittery things. I'm just gonna hope that some of it sticks. I have the Shein Jelly Wow, which I bought because I bought this top for the party. It's very Maddie-esque. Is the best I can find on Shirt Nights. I love these lid stars from Glossier. I love the dusky pink one. That one is just so natural on me, great for the summer. This one looks a little bit more unnatural because it's a really light shade, but I think it will work well as like a top layer for my glitter. This is a busted, dusted, and crusted eyeshadow palette that I've had for years. So we're gonna start with this because I think this will be a good base layer. It's very sheer, so it's not like really buildable. So we're gonna look at me talking like I fucking know what I'm talking about. I think I just watched enough makeup tutorials over the years. Like that's how I first trained myself when I was 19 how to do makeup. Like it shows up. I will say the Jelly Well stuff is stunning. I wiped some on my hand when I first got it and it was like glowing. It was beautiful. So we really are holding out for that. Okay, next character. Let's think of somebody else. Who else do I want to talk about? Let's talk about Nate. He is just a walking red flag. I get angry every time I see his character on the screen. More so in season 2 than in season 1. Like he's just, I don't see what anybody sees in him, honestly. Like he's the worst. I just read what I wrote down for Nate for his, and I'm gonna stand by it even though the girlies are probably gonna be very upset with me. But for Nate Jacobs, I wrote he's all red flags, and then I put that he is any Colleen Hoover story, and I kind of stand by that. I've only read one Colleen Hoover book and it was Ugly Love, and I read that so long ago. I don't know if I ever talked about it on the internet. Actually, I don't think publicly. I think if I did talk about it in a video, it's like taken down by this point, but it was just toxic. I was talking to a friend recently about Colleen Hoover because we were talking about like why Colleen Hoover is popular and why she's like all over our bestseller list and stuff like that, because we were talking about it for work. And I basically was like, I truly don't understand why people like Colleen Hoover so much, because the toxicness of the men, like the alpha aggression-y, like all of that stuff is something I've grown out of thinking is attractive. Like when I was really young and like those fanfic days, I thought like guys who acted like that were like hot or whatever. That possessiveness I would have thought was attractive when I was a teenager, and now I'm like, no, it's actually a big red flag because you're not gonna be allowed to be a human on your own. And I think Colleen Hoover's book, like the one that I read, was very much that same vibe where he kind of was like stalking her. And so Nate is a Colleen Hoover book. Any book of your choosing. I'm not gonna yuck your yum. If that is something you're into, it's something you're into. And good for you, girly, but it's not for me. And Nate Jacobs is also not for me, even though the actor is really hot. Chicken Lordy. I'll give him his props. He is a tall, attractive man. And that is honestly a red flag in and of itself for me. This will be the honest test because I could have an allergic reaction to this. It could have canola oil in it and I just don't know. I think the powdered eyeshadow that I put on was basically useless, so I'm just gonna put this and the lid star on my eye. We're off to a good start. It's not gonna be exactly Maddie. I also hate eyeshadow that is not neutral with a passion. I'm not a fan of this shit. So we're gonna wait a minute for this to dry and I'm gonna talk about another character and drink some wine. Oh my god. Cassie. Sweet summer child. I will say one thing that made me slightly uncomfortable about the show is the way they're pitting Cassie to be like the innocent blonde haired blue-eyed white girl and Maddie to be like the fiery Latina that has temper issues and stuff. Like kind of gross, kind of a problem. But Cassie's character just annoys me, honestly. Like I loved that the actor brought all of her, like the morning routine when she's like talking about at 4 a.m. she would get up and she would do this whole routine to make Nate Jacobs like look at her at school. I love that that was all the actors like actual products that she uses. I have never liked the character of Cassie. I hate the way that they wrote out her ex in this season. The way that she also is very self-involved and like he literally was assaulted in front of her and she made it about herself. Like I guess she's just an immature teenager, but like it's the insecurity that is relatable about her being that age and being like, and placing all your value in your like the way you look aesthetically because you know people find you attractive. Like that whole bit about her viewing that people are only interested in her because of how she looks. I decided to go with a lighter read for her because I was like, sis, I focus more on her like her needing to find herself instead of focusing on men. So my two recommendations are Yinka, Where's Your Husband, which I'm currently reading and obsessed with. I'm loving it so much. And Ghosts, which I read last year. Both of these were read for my book club for work. They're both about older women, not teenage years, not my age either, but like a little bit older in their 30s, who are so focused on like the timeline that we're supposed to have about like getting married, having kids, all that stuff, and instead being single in their 30s and trying to figure out like online dating, on if they even want relationships, on who they're supposed to be. So I feel like Cassie could read that and realize there's time and she doesn't have to focus on male validation, you know? I used to be able to do eyeliner in high school, no problem at all. I could do it easily, and now I don't wear it because I prefer a more natural look. But we're not here for my natural look, we're here for this. Okay, right now I can only find 2 of my eyeliners, and of these 2, I don't know where the other one is that I used recently, but we're gonna use this one, which is the Pro Tip by Glossier. If you're not realizing this, everything I own is Glossier because that is the kind of makeup that I do. I do very like light, barely there, you can't fuck it up because it's barely there makeup. Maddie does like a very angular, like this angle kind of eyeliner, and I do more straight because I have downturned eyes, so I just try to make them level. So we're gonna try this angle. I'm so scared. I feel like I'm gonna start shaking. I should do this off camera. Maybe I should try to do this off camera. I don't know. I feel like I need to turn around and put this down. Please ignore me while I do this. Okay, I think that's like a good start. And in order to not fuck up my actual favorite eyeliner, I'm gonna use the other one on the actual glitter. So I think this eye actually looks semi-decent. It looks like with the falsies, it'll look decent. I think even with my mascara that I'm gonna use, it'll look fine. So we're gonna try now, which is the hard part, to replicate this with my other eye, which is gonna be hard because they're different shapes. Anybody who has different shaped eyes, please tell me how you do it because a girl is struggling up here. I don't think they're perfect, but we were not aiming for perfect, we were aiming for merely passable, and I think we did that. I need to do like the interior and like darken this part too, but I think from a distance, I can't tell again because I can't see, but I'm assuming it looks fine. So I do not have a black waterline pencil, but I do have a dark brown one, and we're just gonna let it work. This is the one thing from Glossier that I do not like, is the eye pencils. I think I'm just gonna get a regular one after this runs out because this just does not stay on. It breaks all the time when I'm sharpening it too. It's a lot. And I feel like all I've been doing is talking about makeup, so I need to find another character to talk about instead. We're gonna accept it as is. This is the best I'm doing for now. I'm going to put on some concealer because I do not have any on, and then I'm gonna do my mascara. My bags are not gonna go anywhere. That is a genetic thing, BB. I think it's doing what it has to do. Like, it's not the best, it's also not the worst. We are gonna look at the next character, who is Jules. Jules is a complicated character for me because I don't like the way she treats Rue, but I still like her story and I still think it's interesting. I think the turning point for me for Jules as a character was her special, because we actually got to see like more of her internal motivations that Rue doesn't really give us, because obviously if we're getting it from Rue's perspective, Rue's gonna paint her as like the worst person when she's treating her wrong, without considering what she's going through. I think Jules falls in love too easily, which is like, it makes sense because she's a teenager, obviously, but like that's where a lot of her problems stem from, is how quickly she gives her heart away to people, how quickly she finds people worthy of her attention. So I think a book that Jules would enjoy is Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory, which is a book I read about 2 years ago now, I want to say. It's really all about like love and relationships, and not just like romantic love, but like love between friends, between like pets, between family. So it's just about like how messy love is, and it has some really good quotes and it's very poetic, which I think Jules would appreciate as a character, and which I think is a very Jules move. Like, she would read a short story collection. Okay, we are back. I have done a little bit of bronzer, a lot of highlighter. I'm gonna have to use a lighter, like I have a sheer shade of highlighter that's more silvery from Glossier that I'm gonna use instead of this one just so it matches the eyes. But we're down to like the last bit of what this look is going to be, and the other part is going to be lips, which I have also never done really. I wear lip gloss, that's to put it, so we're going to try to do that. But I'll give you the recommendations for the last character. Look at us go. I think it turned out pretty okay, and I think it's because I chose an easier look to do, because I know myself. I knew I could like pare it down and make it easier for me. Also, my camera died at one point, so we really have to wrap this up before this battery dies. I tried overlining my lips like when this first came in, because I never had a lip pencil, because again, I use literally just lip gloss. I have like 3 different lip glosses that I use. They said overline these parts, but stay true to your natural line there. So we're gonna see if that works. I feel like this is the part where it's just gonna all go to shit, because my lips are so like deep set on the bottom, like I don't think I can really overline it a lot. Also, I chose a shade that's very similar to my natural shade. Like, listen, my lips are lined. We're calling it. Should I fill in everything? I'm asking you, like, you can answer me. We're gonna fill in everything, why not? My lips are dusty, crusty, and dry, so maybe that's why I should not be doing this, so that's fine. Final character is Lexi, my fave. As of season 2, I didn't really rate her in season 1 because obviously we didn't get a lot of her, other than the fact that she was Rue's friend and Cassie's sister, although it did take until season 2 for me and my roommate who was watching it with me for the first time as well to realize that Cassie and Lexi were sisters, because I was like, they could be cousins, they look really different from each other. Lexi, I decided that I was gonna give her a book that's all about somebody else, because that's what she's doing in season 2. She's gonna do the play on the other like characters in the show. So that book is My Friend Anna, which is all about Anna Delvey and that whole social life situation, which I think is relevant because I literally just watched the first 2 episodes of the Netflix show that came out today. So I think Lexi could use that for inspiration for her play Oklahoma. Let me add some earrings, because I will be wearing huge ass hoops, which I'm not putting on now because I need to coat them in clear nail polish because my ears are really finicky about fake metal. We have bougie ears on these streets. As I put these on, let me know what books you would recommend based on characters in Euphoria, because I feel like I'm looking for books that make me feel like that show makes me feel like I will be when the season's over. I always like staying in like a certain mood, a certain vibe after I finish a show that I like or a movie that I like. This is the finished look here. Like, look at us go. We are Maddie from Euphoria a little bit, maybe. It'll be a true journey for me to be editing this because I cannot see a thing. So I hope it turned out well. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I might do more like this if I watch another show that inspires me to put on makeup. I feel like this is like a perfect storm sort of situation. Anyway, I will see you guys in my next video, whatever that happens to be. Until then, stay safe. Leave your recs in the comments. Leave what character you relate most to in the comments from Euphoria. If you relate to any of them at all. For your sake, I hope not, because they're all going through shit. I'm gonna go take like 50 photos of the way I look now so I can reference it. And I'm gonna clean up the living room before my roommates get home. Okay, bye.